Genetics. What can it mean? The ability to perfect the physical and mental characteristics of every unborn child. Of genetic engineering.
To choose the genes.
In the sense of
society.
Characteristics of every unborn child. Of genetic engineering.
To choose the genes.
In the sense of
society.
Genetically modified babies. They already live among us. Who are they? How have their genes been altered? Right now, there are 3 individuals with 3 parents, each of which received a form of gene modification either as part of a fertility treatment or to decrease the possibility of inheriting a deadly disease.
The type of science we think of as only belonging in movies or the imagination is closer to being realized than most people may think. As our technology advances and the process becomes more refined, we may be able to go beyond health concerns and change a child's possible appearance or intelligence.
Let's pretend it's the year 2030, and you're a parent. You have your daughter, Marion, next to you. And in 2030, she is what we call a natural because she has no genetic modifications. And because you and your partner consciously made that decision, many in your social circle, they kind of look down on you. They think you're like a Luddite or a technophobe. Marion's best friend, Jenna, who lives right next door, is a very different story. She was born a genetically modified designer baby with numerous upgrades. Yeah, upgrades.
In the meantime, we are left to ponder the following. Is it ethical to alter human genes at all? Should anyone have the power to determine a child's traits beyond emergency health situations? How would society respond to the potential divide between genetically modified and genetically natural individuals? What are the possible consequences and ramifications of this kind of technology?
How is this going to change our future as humans? Are we going to engineer ourselves? Are we going to make designer babies? I think that's a really important question for everybody to be talking about.
The process begins with a simple pre-implantation screening of the possible embryos being used in vitro fertilization. This procedure is called FISH, which stands for fluorescent in situ hybridization. It uses dyed probes to label certain sequences of nucleic acids, often ones that indicate dangerous medical conditions. At this point, transgenes, which are pieces of genetic material that are naturally transferred to a host, are inserted into the DNA of the zygote. The transgene becomes a normal, functioning part of a person's DNA, and it can be passed down to future generations. The process is expensive, but relatively simple. And, similar to other technology, it will become easier and easier to have this procedure done. Therefore, it must be taken seriously. The common use of genetic engineering must be considered a real and growing possibility in certain areas of the world. Although genetic engineering can help prevent children from inheriting certain fatal diseases, research is already being done to isolate the genes for intelligence and other characteristics that are not related to health. This has created a debate over what the future of genetic engineering could be. On one side, people fear a new group of superpowered humans given an edge through their genetics.
The opposite argument is that if anything goes wrong with this process, children could be born with genetic defects that have never even existed before. Playing with the human genome could have effects that we don't even notice until they've already been passed down through more than one generation. There are concerns about society isolating genetically modified individuals, new expectations for what a human should be, and of course, the more common debate of if choosing one embryo from others is fair and moral. The NIH has stated it will not fund any use of gene editing technologies on human embryos. They view germline modification as a line that should never be crossed.
In a comment published in the journal Nature, scientists from the Alliance for Regenerative Medicine called some of the research, quote, dangerous and ethically unacceptable.
This research is not occurring in the United States as a result. Other countries are researching this topic, including the United Kingdom. Certain nations are exploring the possibilities of this technology and helping babies who could never be born be born. No parent wants to pass on a fatal disease to their child. It is a heartbreaking decision for them to choose between never having a child or risking their life. With this technology, there is now a third option: giving birth to a fully healthy child with no risk of him or her inheriting that condition. The positive side of this new procedure cannot be ignored.
Beyond ethics, it is important to look at the overall ramifications of this technological advancement. We previously mentioned 3-parent babies. These children have genes from their mother and father, but they also have the DNA of another woman to prevent them from inheriting certain diseases. Children born in this manner will pass on the DNA of all 3 parents, complicating the gene pools of future generations. Will society accept people who have this sort of genetic variation? Our society has not been exceptionally kind to those it sees as different. What will happen when people have literally been altered on a fundamental level? What will happen once research allows parents to choose characteristics related to intelligence, appearance, etc.? Imagine a generation of athletic, artistic, musical, beautiful people who could never have achieved our ideas of the human ideal without science that still feels impossible. Parents want the best for their children. How can they resist the opportunity to make their children the best? This is not the far-off possibility some people may believe it to be. Children of this nature already exist. Technology doesn't just go away, it marches forward. Therefore, the question of how society will handle this and whether or not we should be doing it needs to be answered now. In 10, 15, 20 years, this process could be a common step in every pregnancy. The future is within reach, and we must know how to meet it when we get there.